All right. Hey, future policymakers, you ready for this? We are diving deep into something that's, well, it's not just making headlines. It could actually end up on your UPSC mains exam.
Oh, yeah, this is big, could even sneak into the prelims, too. We're talking about power dynamics
Power dynamics.
in India's universities.
Okay, so who really controls these places?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? Crucial for anyone even remotely interested in Indian polity or education policy or, well, just keeping up with current affairs.
Absolutely. And speaking of current affairs, there's this recent news that's really, really stirred things up.
Yeah, the University Grants Commission, the UGC, they've proposed these new regulations for how vice-chancellors are appointed.
Vice-chancellors, you mean, like the heads honchos of universities.
Exactly, the VCs. And this whole thing has just like ignited this huge debate, states versus the center. It's getting intense.
So it's like everyone's trying to grab the steering wheel of higher education in India.
Pretty much think of it like a high-stakes chess match or something.
The future of higher education hanging in the balance.
Exactly. And for you guys listening, this isn't just about acing an exam. It's about like understanding how this country works, the nuts and bolts of governance.
Okay, so let's get to the heart of it then. The central question, the big kahuna, is the center, are they using this quality push as a way to, I don't know, to gain more control over state universities?
To really understand that, we got to like take a step back, look at how things are right now, before we jump into all the drama.
Okay, so back to basics. Where do we even start?
Well, let's start with central universities, the ones established by Parliament, funded by the center.
Okay.
The President of India, they have a special role. They're called the Visitor.
The visitor, interesting title, but what does that actually mean, like day to day?
Well, they're kind of keeping an eye on things, making sure things are running smoothly. But in terms of appointing a VC,
Well, he doesn't just like snap their fingers and appoint someone.
no, there's a whole process. A committee is formed,
Mhm.
includes folks nominated by the university itself, gives them a voice, and then one person nominated by the president.
Ah, so it's like a blend of internal and external perspectives, trying to get a balanced view.
Exactly.
Makes sense. But what about state universities? Is it the same deal?
Not quite. States, they often have their own laws, their own way of doing things. Their specific laws will say how these search committees are formed.
Okay, so things get a little more, what, localized?
Yeah, you could say that. Typically, the chancellor, who's usually the governor of the state, they have the final say.
The governor. So they pick the VC.
Well, they pick based on what the committee recommends. It's not a solo mission.
Ah, so this is where the states, they get to flex their muscles a bit, have their say in how their education system is run.
That's it. That's their autonomy right there. And just to complete the picture, for private universities, UGC's role is usually limited to having one nominee on that search committee, just to keep an eye on things from their end.
Okay, so we've got the lay of the land, the current power structure all set, but then, boom, the UGC drops this 2025 draft regulations bomb.
Yeah, that's what's got everyone riled up. It's a real game changer.
So spill the tea. What's the big change here? The thing that's got everyone in a tizzy?
The biggest shift, the one that's really causing a stir, is how that search cum selection committee is structured.
Okay, so how's it different now?
New rules, they say it's going to be just 3 members, one nominated by the chancellor or the visitor, often the governor or president, one by the UGC chairman.
Wait, so 2 out of the 3, they're basically appointed by the center?
Yeah, that's the point a lot of people are making. And then just one from the university's own governing body, like the Senate or syndicate.
Wow, that's tilting the scales pretty dramatically, isn't it? Giving the center a lot more power.
That's what folks are saying, yeah. And it's not just that. These draft regulations, they also change who can even be considered for the VC position.
Oh, so it's not just professors anymore.
Nope. They've opened it up. People with senior roles in industries, public policy, administration, even public sector undertakings, they could qualify now.
Wow, so you could go from like a career in business straight to leading a university. That's a huge shift.
It is. It's a big one. And UPSC aspirants, you guys need to pay close attention here. This reflects like a bigger trend, how the government is thinking about education and expertise.
It's like they're saying, hey, we need fresh blood, people who've been in the trenches, not just academics.
Something like that, yeah. And there's another layer here, the chancellor or visitor, they now directly form that search committee.
Directly.
Yeah, it's different from the 2018 guidelines. Puts more power in their hands, for sure.
So we've got this move towards, I don't know, like centralizing power. But you mentioned states are pushing back and hard. What's their argument? Why are they so upset about this?
They see it as a, I don't know, like a direct attack on their autonomy. They're saying the center's overreaching, trying to control their universities.
Undermining federalism.
Exactly. That's their big point. This goes against the very idea of how India is supposed to be governed, the balance of power.
This is where understanding Indian polity becomes, like, mission critical. It's not just a theoretical debate. This is a live wire,
Yeah.
Serious implications for how power is shared in India.
Absolutely. And it's playing out in real time, which makes it even more, I don't know, exciting, I guess.
It's like a political thriller unfolding right before our eyes, States versus the center. Who's going to win control of the university?
High stakes, for sure.
So can you give us some examples, like, how is this actually playing out on the ground? Give us the dirt.
Okay, so let's take Kerala, for example. Back in 2021, the governor there, they started questioning the reappointment of some VCs. And the state, they didn't back down. They actually went and passed a bill to, get this, remove the governor as chancellor.
Whoa, they're basically saying, get out of our universities. That's bold.
It is, but it's still waiting for presidential assent, so we'll see what happens. But it shows you how seriously they're taking this, like, encroachment on their authority.
Yeah, they're not messing around. What about other states? Are they following suit?
Well, West Bengal is another hotspot. The Supreme Court's actually involved right now, trying to sort out these disputes over interim VC appointments made unilaterally by the governor. And the state assembly, they even passed a resolution to replace the governor with the chief minister as chancellor.
Oh, so they're trying to completely change the power structure.
Yeah, but it's stalled. Because, well, the governor hasn't given his assent, so it's this back and forth,
So we've got courtrooms, legislatures. It's like a real-life political drama unfolding. And it shows you got to understand the legal and institutional frameworks that govern education in India.
It's all connected.
For sure. So Kerala, West Bengal, any other states making moves?
Oh, yeah, tons of them. Karnataka, they've proposed legislative reforms to, you guessed it, remove the governor as chancellor, but those bills, they're not approved yet. Maharashtra, they tried to limit the governor's role, but then a new government came in 2022 and reversed it.
So it's a mixed bag, some states pushing forward, others, I don't know, maybe playing it a bit safer.
Yeah, it depends on the political climate, But down south, Tamil Nadu, the ruling DMK government, they've been trying to appoint VCs without the governor's approval, but their efforts, they've been blocked. So it's a mixed bag for sure, but the overall trend, it's clear. States are pushing back against this, what they see as this power grab.
Okay, so we've got this intense tug of war happening, center pulling one way, states the other, and universities, they're stuck in the middle. But what's the UGC saying about all this pushback? They're not just sitting quietly, are they?
Oh no, they're definitely not keeping quiet. The UGC chairman, M. Jagadesh Kumar, he's come out defending these regulations.
So what's their justification?
They're saying it's all about aligning with the National Education Policy 2020, the NEP 2020.
NEP 2020, that's the big education reform package, right?
That's the one. They're saying these changes are necessary to, achieve the goals of NEP 2020.
Which are?
Well, their main point is about promoting transparent, high-quality leadership in higher education. That's their big argument.
So it's like, we know what's best for you kind of thing.
Yeah, you could say that.
But is it really just about quality, or is there something else going on here? That's what we'll be dissecting in the next part of our deep dive, folks. All right, welcome back, everyone. So before the break, we were talking about the UGC, and they're saying these new regulations, it's all to line up with NEP 2020, right? To get this, like, high-quality leadership in universities. But what does that even mean?
Yeah, good point. I mean, what is NEP 2020 really trying to do with higher education?
Yeah, break it down for us.
Well, it's a pretty massive document, covers a lot of ground. But the important stuff for our chat today, it's about flexibility and interdisciplinary learning.
Flexibility, okay. I like the sound of that.
Right.
But what does that actually look like, in practice?
So NEP 2020, it's picturing a system where students, they have more control, more say in what they study, how they design their courses. They can jump between fields, explore different areas, and even collect credits from different universities.
Oh, wow. That's different. I like that. What's this about credits from different universities?
Yeah, it's through something called an academic bank of credit. Pretty cool, actually.
Interesting. But, okay, back to the VCs. How does appointing CEOs as VCs, how does that fit into this whole flexibility interdisciplinary thing? It feels a little, I don't know, off, doesn't it?
I know, right? It's a question a lot of folks are asking. The UGC, they're saying people with experience outside academia, they can like bring new ideas, shake things up a bit. They've got the management skills, the know-how to, I guess, run a university efficiently.
So their argument is like universities need to be run more like businesses.
Kind of, yeah. They point to examples from other countries where industry leaders have like taken over universities and supposedly made them more innovative.
So they're saying, look, we need people who can think outside the box, who've been there, done that in the real world. But I don't know, running a business, it's not the same as running a university, isn't
That's
it?
the big debate, right? Universities, they're not just factories pumping out graduates. They're supposed to nurture critical thinking, encourage students to ask questions, challenge the status quo. Can a CEO, even a really successful one, really understand that? Can they champion academic freedom? It's a valid concern.
It's like they're putting all this emphasis on management skills, but what about the deep knowledge of academia? That understanding of how universities work, the culture, the values.
Exactly. And then there's the whole conflict of interest thing.
Oh, yeah, that's a big one.
What if someone from, I don't know, let's say the pharmaceutical industry becomes the VC of a university?
Suddenly, all the research funding goes to pharma projects.
Potentially, right. Or the curriculum gets tweaked to favor certain industries. These are big questions the UGC hasn't really addressed.
Okay, so for our listeners, the future policymakers out there prepping for the UPSC, this is where things get really, really interesting.
This is it, yeah.
This isn't just about education. It's about the whole fabric of Indian polity, center-state relations, the role of the governor, legislative processes. It's all tangled up together.
Absolutely. And it's happening right now. It's current affairs gold.
Legal battles, political statements, public debates. You got to pay attention to this stuff. It's all valuable material. That's why we do these deep dives,
Get you thinking, get you analyzing.
Exactly. Equip you with the tools to connect the dots, see the bigger picture, think critically about why policies are being made, what's the real motivation.
Like, is this really about improving quality, or is it a power play?
Yeah.
What happens in the long run to our education system, to our democracy even?
So we've covered the UGC's argument, the whole NEP 2020 angle, and the states pushing back hard. But let's bring it back to you, the listener, the future policymaker. Why should you care about this whole VC appointment drama?
Because these decisions, they affect everything. Who leads our universities? That determines the quality of education you receive, the research that's done, and ultimately the kind of society we build.
This is not just some abstract policy debate. This is your future, your career, the future of India we're talking about.
And remember, things are still in flux. These draft regulations, they're still being debated. There are legal challenges. States are coming up with their own strategies. Stay informed, follow what's happening, and most importantly, think for yourself.
Don't just take everything you hear at face value. Dig deeper, ask questions, challenge assumptions, and form your own informed opinion.
Okay, so we've covered a lot today, but before we wrap up, I want to leave you with a final thought, something to really chew on.
All right, so picture this. You're in charge. You're calling the shots for higher education in India. How do you balance this need for like top-notch leadership in universities with the whole idea of federalism?
It's a tough one, no doubt. On one hand, you want the best people leading these places, right? People who can really drive excellence in teaching and research. But you can't just ignore the states, can you? They have a right to run their own education systems. It's in the Constitution.
It's like this balancing act. You got to keep both sides happy.
Yeah.
So for our listeners, the UPSC folks, how do they really get a grip on this whole debate and figure out what they think?
Go deeper, don't just skim the headlines. Actually look at what states like Kerala, Tamil Nadu, Karnataka, what they're doing. Read the whole NEP 2020 document, see how it lines up or doesn't with what the UGC is proposing.
It's all about that extra research, right?
No.
That's where the analytical skills come in.
For sure. It's not just absorbing information. It's about engaging with it, questioning it, coming to your own conclusions.
And remember, there's no easy answer here. It's messy. There are good arguments on both sides.
Right. Your job as a UPSC aspirant is to understand those arguments, weigh the evidence, and then, take a stand. Have a clear, well-thought-out position.
Because at the end of the day, the UPSC exam, it's not just about checking boxes and memorizing facts. It's about showing you can think critically, analyze complex situations.
Exactly. And this whole debate over who controls universities, that's a perfect example of how complex things can get.
Absolutely. This could be on your mains exam, so you got to know this stuff inside and out. Be ready to talk about the history of university autonomy in India, the arguments for and against central control. What does it mean for federalism? How does it affect the quality of education?
Right. Don't just focus on the UGC's side of the story. What are the states worried about? What legal challenges are they making? What are their alternative ideas?
Show those examiners that you've done your homework, you've gone beyond the surface.
And who knows, maybe one day you'll be the one making these decisions.
That's right, from listener to policymaker. So, to all our aspiring civil servants out there, keep learning, keep questioning, and keep pushing for that deeper understanding.
And stay informed. This whole thing, it's still developing. Keep up with the news, the legal stuff, and keep refining your understanding as things change.
You got it, folks. The journey to becoming a successful civil servant starts with, well, it starts with a thirst for knowledge, a commitment to critical thinking. And we're here to help you every step of the way.
So keep those brains working, keep those pens moving, and keep striving for that deeper understanding. The future of India's higher education, it might just depend on it.
And hey, before you go, hit that like button, subscribe to the deep dive, and share with your fellow UPSC warriors. We're all in this together, right? And together, we can tackle the complexities of Indian governance and make a real difference. Until next time, happy studying, everyone.